Danielle was working the graveyard shift at a gas station just off the interstate. It wasn't glamorous, but the pay was decent and it was quiet enough. Except for him. He started coming in a few weeks after she got hired. Always alone. Always between 2:30 and 3 a.m. He never said a word. Just walked to the back, picked something random, cough syrup, baby wipes, soy milk, duct tape, and placed it on the counter, always paid in cash. He never looked directly at her. His eyes hovered somewhere above her head or just to the side. But she always felt him watching. At first, she thought maybe he was simply unstable. Night shift regulars often came with quirks, people who didn't sleep like the rest of the world. But then she noticed something else. Every time she looked up at the security monitor, the one that showed the store's camera feeds, one screen would glitch for a second. A brief static pop when he stepped into frame. She asked her manager to check it out. He told her the system was old, prone to hiccups. Probably a wiring issue, he shrugged. You want the late shift or not? The strange part wasn't just the glitching camera. It was that he never bought the same thing twice, like he was cycling through a list. One night it was a bag of sand, the next, ropes, then a single screwdriver. Danielle started writing them down on a napkin. When she looked back at the list after a couple of weeks, it made her stomach churn because it looked like someone preparing for something sinister. Cleaning supplies, tarps, gloves, but never in the same week. Like someone being very careful not to raise suspicion. She started dreading those nights. The moment he stepped in, the air felt colder. One night, around 2:45, he walked in, didn't browse, didn't head to the back, just stood in the middle of the aisle and stared at the mirror above the counter, watching her through it. Danielle reached under the counter, wrapped her fingers around the panic button, the one that silently notified the police. She didn't press it. Not yet. Instead, she said, "Can I help you?" He didn't speak, just stood there, still as death. And then he smiled. Just a twitch of his lips, like he'd remembered something funny. Then he turned and left. She quit that night, packed up everything she had the next morning and drove across state lines to stay with her cousin for a while. Told the manager some family emergency came up, didn't even ask for her last paycheck. She changed her number, deleted her social media, turned off every location setting she could think of. She wanted to disappear. And for a while, she did. Or so she thought. 3 months later, she got a job working at a bakery in a completely different town. Daylight shifts, warm smells, normal people. But then one day, while using the work computer to place a supply order, she noticed something odd in the browser. An auto-filled search bar, not hers. Just 5 words. How to track a person. Her stomach flipped. She brushed it off as someone else's search history. A shared machine. Probably nothing. Until she got home and found a package at her front door. No return label, no branding. Just her name, printed in block letters. The address wasn't public, only her cousin had it, and she had never entered it online. She brought it inside, hands shaking, sat it on the kitchen table and stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside were 2 things, a receipt, a photograph. The receipt was from the gas station, her last shift, dated and time-stamped at 2:56 a.m., his usual time. And stapled to it was the napkin she had written all those item lists on. Her handwriting, crumpled, smoothed out, and perfectly pressed. The photograph was grainy, a black and white still frame from a security feed. It showed her, behind the counter, looking up at the monitor, and him standing outside the window, watching her from outside the whole time. She moved again that night. She didn't know how he found her. She didn't know what he wanted. But now, every so often, she found something small out of place in her new home. A grocery bag at her door, a receipt folded into her mailbox, her phone ringing once and stopping, always from a blocked number. And last night she heard something even worse. 3 soft knocks. At 2:56 a.m. This was the last straw, and she had enough. 2 weeks later, there was another knock on the door at the exact same time. This time, she was ready. She didn't freeze or hide. She turned on every light, opened the front door, and aimed her phone, already recording, straight into the dark. Across the street, tucked halfway behind a parked car, a figure flinched. And that was enough. The footage, the list, the package, all of it. She turned over to the police that morning. It took weeks. Statements, interviews. Then one night, her phone rang. It was the detective. They'd found him. Danielle didn't ask for details. She didn't care. She slept through 2:56 a.m. for the first time in a year. And this time, no one knocked. After the divorce, Alex wanted quiet. He found it in a 2-bedroom house with a backyard just outside the city. The house wasn't perfect, but affordable. He moved in with his co-worker Jeremy, easygoing, clean, rarely home. Jeremy was gone most weekends, visiting his girlfriend out of town, so it was perfect for him. He was happy with the peace. However, Alex noticed something off the first time on a Sunday night. Jeremy had been gone all weekend. The house was locked as always, and Alex hadn't left all day. But when he stepped into the kitchen, he noticed a spoon in the sink, wet, resting gently on the counter. He stood there, staring at it. Alex hadn't used a spoon all day. A slow chill spread through his back when he thought it, but he shook it off. Maybe he used it without remembering. People forget things. He rinsed it, slid it into the dishwasher, and didn't think about it again. Not until the next weekend. Jeremy was out. At night, Alex stepped into the hallway and immediately froze. The hallway light was on. He always kept it off. He checked the locks, windows, nothing out of the ordinary. He turned off the hallway light and went to bed. The next morning, the hallway light was back on. He walked the perimeter. Everything was normal. That night, he installed a motion-activated camera in the living room, synced to his phone. The next weekend, Jeremy was out of town as usual. Alex stayed up late, fell asleep on the couch. The next morning, he checked the camera footage. Hours of stillness except for one clip. At 3:23 a.m., the camera went black for half a second, then returned to normal. No one there. Just silence. But Alex noticed something. The chair in the corner had been facing the wall. After the clip, it was angled slightly toward the couch. He bought more cameras and placed it in the hallway, in the kitchen, and one more facing the front door. He didn't sleep much that weekend. When he checked the footage on Monday at 3:12 a.m., all the clips showed the same thing. A blank frame. Each camera triggered, then cut to black for half a second. And when the feed resumed, something had changed. In the hallway, a door slightly ajar. In the kitchen, the paper towel roll unspooled. In the living room, the chair now facing directly at the couch. It wasn't in the frame, but the aftermath was. The next weekend, Alex stayed awake in silence, baseball bat and phone in his hands. At 3 a.m., he heard a click from the back door. He moved slowly, quietly, crept into the kitchen and stared at the door. It was closed, but the deadbolt wasn't turned all the way. He always locked the deadbolt. He stepped closer. The floor creaked behind him. He spun around, nothing. He walked from room to room, checking closets, under beds, behind the shower curtain. Nothing. He didn't sleep. In the morning, he reviewed the camera footage. The hallway camera had gone black for 0.4 seconds. When it returned, there was a shape, barely visible, by the door frame. The figure stood just outside the frame, as if it knew where the camera's blind spots were. Alex called the police. They searched everything, took his statement, reviewed the footage and told him the figure was too vague to identify. Jeremy swore he wasn't involved. He even offered to stay home the next weekend, but Alex insisted he leave. He needed to find out what's happening. So Jeremy left. Alex waited. He put cameras everywhere, covered every angle, stayed up. He sat on his bed with all the lights off, staring at his phone where each camera streamed live. At 2:59 a.m., the backyard camera cut out. Then the basement camera. Then the two in the hallway. Each one blinked off for a fraction of a second. Then everything came back, except the front door camera. That one stayed black. That's when he realized it knew everything about the house. Alex stood up, bat in hand, and walked to the door. He opened, but no one there. He backed into the kitchen, locked the door, grabbed his phone, opened the living room feed. And there, he saw a figure standing just behind the couch. Not visible in the camera, but in reflection. Alex ran out the back door into the street barefoot and shaking, until a neighbor called the police. This time, they searched everything and found a sleeping bag, empty food wrappers, and a small folded paper labeled in block letters. Schedule in the attic. Inside was a list of times, movement patterns, notes. Roommate leaves Friday, 6:30 p.m. Camera blind spots by front corner and kitchen entry. Noise from basement goes unnoticed when TV volume is above 20. Alex sleeps deep between 3:15 and 4:45. They arrested a man found hiding 2 blocks away. Tall, thin, dressed in dark clothes and carrying a backpack full of electronics, gloves, and a tiny, carefully labeled map of the house's layout. He had no ID, name, or digital trace, but he had been living in the attic for weeks, maybe longer. When the detectives asked Alex how he knew something was wrong, he told them the truth. It was the spoon. The first call came at 2:41 a.m. Maya didn't answer. She squinted at her phone's glowing screen. Private number, then let it ring out. No voicemail. She assumed spam, so didn't do anything. But when the call returned the next night at 2:38 a.m., then again at 2:44 the night after, her stomach began to coil. No messages, just one ring. Every night, always around the same time. On the 4th night, she picked up the call. Silence. She listened, then faint breathing. "Hello?" she whispered. No response. Click. The call ended. She lay awake, staring into the dark, more irritated than afraid. People get weird with phones sometimes. Still, she enabled Do Not Disturb and blocked unknown callers. That night, no calls. But the next morning, she found a voicemail. 10 seconds. No voice. Just the creak of a door hinge, the click of a lock turning, then 3 soft knocks. She sat frozen, phone gripped tight. That was her door. She knew the sound of it like her own breath. Someone had recorded it. She double-checked the lock. It was still bolted. Windows too. No sign of a break-in. But the audio was hers. A moment in her life, caught without her knowing. She called the police. An officer took her report and told her to call again if anything escalated. That night, she slept with a knife under her pillow. At 2:56 a.m., the phone buzzed again. No call this time, just a new voicemail. She hit play, water running, sound of an electric toothbrush. Humming. It was Maya's humming. It was her bathroom, her morning routine. She rushed in, turned the light on, everything looked normal, except the toothbrush. It was turned the wrong way. She would never leave it like that. Her hands trembled. She called her best friend Lydia and drove to her place across town. "I think someone's been inside," Maya said, barely blinking. "They're recording me." Lydia took her seriously. They returned to Maya's apartment the next morning. Nothing stolen, no forced entry, but something was wrong, something quiet, something patient. Maya bought cameras that day, one for the living room, one for the front door. She added an app that recorded sound at the first noise. Still, the voicemails came. Never words, never a face. Just sounds. Her opening cabinets, scrolling through Netflix, quiet footsteps on her hallway rug. Maya changed her locks. She stopped showering at night. She kept the lights on. She double-checked every window, but it wasn't enough. One voicemail was different. Her own voice. "Please," she whispered, crying. Fabric rustled. A soft thud. Footsteps. She didn't remember that moment. Didn't remember pleading, but it was her voice. The cops came again, looked around. Could be a prank, they said. No proof they were actually inside. 2 nights later, Lydia called at 3 a.m. "Why did you call me from a private number?" she asked. "I didn't," Maya said, heart hammering. "Yes, you did. It rang once and stopped." But Maya had no outgoing call. The stalker had access to her contacts. The next night, a voicemail came not to her phone, but to her email. It showed a recording, her phone unlocking, her texts opening. Private conversations. Then the camera flipped, revealing a man's reflection in the black screen. Holding her phone, standing in her apartment, she screamed, called 911. This time, police found something. Behind the couch, a small USB-sized device, a screen logger. Taped beneath her side table, a prepaid SIM card. He had gotten into her phone, physically. They searched deeper and found scratch marks on the back window. A loosened screw. Tiny signs of entry she'd missed. He'd been sneaking in at night, recording her, leaving. They confiscated her phone, the audio, the SIM, but the man left no fingerprints, no DNA. She packed a bag and checked into a hotel under a fake name that night. No phone, no online orders, no trail. Only had her laptop with her. At 2:56 a.m., a new email appeared. No subject. 4 words. "I like the hunt." The man was caught 3 weeks later. Not through hacking tools or camera feeds, but by accident. Lydia noticed an unfamiliar voicemail in her own inbox. 5 seconds. Breathing. A floorboard creaking. A voice whispering, "Wrong phone." The stalker had called her by mistake. Police traced the signal to a man 2 buildings away from Maya's apartment. A maintenance worker, no priors, no digital trail. Clean, invisible. In his apartment, folders of recordings, audio files, labeled logs of Maya's daily life. He never tried to hurt her. He just wanted access, to observe, to invade, to have the power of invisibility. Maya moved across the country, changed her number. But some nights when she wakes up suddenly at 2:56 a.m., her heart still races. She waits for her phone to ring. It never does, but she still keeps the ringer off, just in case. Thank you for watching and listening. See you soon with more stories. Till then, stay well and stay safe.